Hello, folks. I am Jim the Eternal. With me is Lily, and I am thrilled to be commentating this particular match. Say hello, Lily.
Hello.
So we have AeroRaiser on the left side. We have gabrieljcampos on the right side. Both people with some experience in running the randomizer. AeroRaiser, I know, was involved in previous year's tournament. Gabriel, I'm not super familiar with, but I know they've done some randomizers in the past and have a fair amount of experience with Timespinner. So I am thrilled to be here, watching them go, and it looks like they're almost ready.
Okay, countdown's going on.
Can't wait to see what this is going to be like. I'm so excited. The races that have been going on so far have been really nice. And ooh, Shattered Plus.
That was a nice start.
Shattered Orb and Colossal Hammer. That's exciting. That feels like a familiar start. Shattered Orb, one of the better orbs in general. And the fact that it is plus, we have the damage rando enabled. So it's going to deal double damage from what it would in the vanilla version of the game. And then Colossal Hammer, not plus, but still a massive, massive spell. So really a great start for our runners. We're going to have them tagging this initial warp room as a way of coming back here quickly should they need to later on. And we're going to see what some of the initial treasures are and whether or not this is going to allow for much split in terms of the routing. Where our racers are going to head from here. Nothing particularly exciting so far, so we should see a fairly similar start for both of our runners. I imagine they're going to...
Getting rid of that poison, since it's actually kind of dangerous in this game. It will tick until it takes 20... I think it's 25% of your base health.
25%. It's scarier than it looks since it's dealing so little damage at a time, but the poison lasts a good while. So they're grabbing this one chest off to the left, and then we should see both of our runners heading to the right to explore some of the initial parts of the caves and heading towards the castle area. And depending on what our runners find, we may start seeing some divergence there. Our runners are going to be on the lookout for progression items, which is vertical, an ability to get more height on their jumps, either a double jump or one of several infinite vertical options. They're also looking for the components for the twin pyramid keys, which will allow them access to the other time periods that are available in the game. And then there's several different keys for doors in the present time. There's the water mask. There's a lot of different options for our runners in terms of progression and where different things will send them. Blood Orb. So far, nothing too exciting. It hasn't been any particularly good pieces of equipment or any orbs that are going to tempt our runners away from the Shattered Orb, I don't think.
I think at this point, only possibly another plus or an Empire plus. Maybe a Radiant plus would tempt them more.
Radiant Plus, a personal favorite. I know a lot of people are fans of Empire. Empire also a very good orb. Some of the orbs definitely... not all orbs are created equal. Some of the orbs have stronger base damage or more relevant elements associated with them. So we've got our first divergence here. AeroRaiser went immediately on the upward path, whereas Gabriel went to the bottom path here in order to grab the warp point in front of the upper caves of banishment. So this is potentially something that might see Gabriel getting a bit of an advantage later on. If they end up needing to use that warp point, they'll be able to travel to that area quicker than Arrow will. But for now, Arrow is 10, 15 seconds ahead, assuming that they're both still following the same path.
Aero also specifically took the warp back to the camp in order to guarantee that he's used a warp point. That'll make it so that if he gets a warp shard, he can immediately use that.
An important point. Otherwise, there's a couple of places where runners have guaranteed warp shards. But if they found a random warp shard and wanted to use it to speed up their traversal, they have to have, as Lily said, taken a warp first. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. Both of our runners heading into the moat, grabbing the few items there. Elevator keycard. So this is some potential progression once our runners make it to the present, which is not necessarily guaranteed. But for now, nothing to pull them. Ooh, it's a bummer to miss that jump. Not like a big deal, and cost Gabriel maybe 10 seconds or so, but it's always disheartening.
And that particular jump to get out of the moat can be frustrating as well.
Mm-hmm. This is one of the more notorious ledges in the game, just because of the positioning of the ground underneath it.
Nice evasion of the barrels.
The barrels are consistent. There's not a lot of RNG in this game. There's a little bit in how some of the enemies move, but the barrels in this case are pretty consistent as long as you are consistent as well. So yeah, we're going to see both of them, I think, following the same straight path through the castle for a bit. We haven't seen any of them check the map to determine if the basement in the castle is flooded. So we'll get eyes on the basement, as the runners do, I guess, and figure things out from there. Most likely we'll see them going through the basement loop underneath the castle. And then, was that a B key card?
Look, yeah, it's a B card.
Okay. So again, more preparations for the more preparations for the present is where the key cards are going to be useful. But Teleria is useful now.
Well, both of them will get that warp that Teleria fairly quickly. So that's going to speed up movement and traversal quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Also, differences this year from the last tournament. As Yarno said, we're using the Unchained Keys flag. So you start with the pyramid key, so you can warp in your same time frame anywhere, and then there's special items that have been created that unlock the other times for you. We're also running with Enter Sandman, which allows us to go to the pyramid without having to go through the boss at the end of the lab.
So these are some very cool changes to the flag set because...
And we do have flooded basement.
Flooded basement, okay. Teleria does open up the left side though, so this doesn't... we still have places to go from here. Arrow making the decision to still continue up and check the Golden Idol location and some of the stuff up here, even though they won't be able to get to the Golden Idol with their current progression set.
But this particular pair of checks was an issue in one of our previous races, where there was progression there, and one person didn't take it, and it cost quite a bit of time.
In this case, it's a solid piece of equipment, but not anything that's progression.
Right.
So Gabriel making the other choice, right?
Yeah.
Gabriel's not going up there and is instead heading... I don't know where Gabriel's heading. Never mind. I take it back.
I think he wanted to save, and...
Okay.
I think he's going to grab that chest over here on the right-hand side.
That makes sense. Yet another chest that is opened up as a result of getting Teleria, so potentially worth backtracking for. Arrow didn't see this chest, but it is a max sand up. Not a big deal. A lucky drop for Arrow, the Empire Crown. So that's some really, really solid equipment. Arrow's damage is going to be wildly out of proportion to what Gabriel can do until Gabriel gets a similar level of equipment. AeroRaiser grabbing that warp at the top of Caves of Banishment. Oh, looks like they're going to go check Caves of Banishment, even though they don't have the water mask. So there's a couple of checks over here that they're not going to be able to get right now. They'll have to come back for those. But there are still a few checks here that are in Sphere 1 that are available right from the start, no matter what your progression are. So potentially useful things there. Gabriel following in Arrow's footsteps, checking underneath the golden idol.
So he will get the Eternal Coat as well.
Mm-hmm. A slight equalizer on the equipment. Eternal Coat, a favored piece of equipment because not only is it good protection, but it is also the best gear for that slot in terms of increasing your offense, upping your damage output. So now we see Arrow heading over to the left side. There is a broken bridge here that requires some piece of progression to cross. And Teleria, the dash that we've seen them get, is just enough speed that you can cross that bridge.
Experience still works. Both runners are doing a good bit of experience grinding here.
These are still fairly early enemies, fairly low level. So, would expect to see a level up eventually, but not super quickly.
He should have had like 3 at this point. I'm fairly sure the experience was set in the tournament flag.
Mm-hmm. Should be. But yeah, our runner is still pretty much neck and neck. Gabriel maybe a screen or two behind Arrow. And both heading towards the same place. Arrow making the choice to turn around and check the Cantorin room. We have Boss Randomizer on, so this is the room that you would normally fight Cantorin in at the end of one of the quest lines. Instead, it is being replaced by the final boss of the game, Nightmare. Not a particularly difficult fight. Nightmare relies on his high damage output rather than on his complex mechanics. And we can see Arrow making pretty short work of the boss. We'll see if Gabriel makes the same decision. Not too much of a time loss fighting this boss. Not that there was any particularly good results from the boss. A mere chaos rose. And now both of them are heading down into the dried up Lake Serene area. This is an area that normally has water, but one of the randomizer flags allows you to flood and unflood areas at random. So with this particular seed, this area normally would have water, but doesn't now, which means our runners can get through here without the water mat.
The danger is the dog.
Yeah. That does mean that getting into the Maw Caves is going to be a little bit harder than usual. They will still need some vertical, double jump, or celestial sash, or light wall in order to make it up there.
And you won't be able to get to the wind orb spot. And ran smack into the dog.
Neck and neck right in front of the dog. I love it. Fractions of a second within each other. This is superb.
This is a great sync here.
Mm-hmm.
AeroRaiser's also making very good use of that particular ring, which gives you a little mini shield bubble. It's one of the better rings if you're trying to go fast because it can prevent a knockback. It's like the damage boost ring. So this is going to be kind of difficult. It's not a huge health boss spot, but they don't have vertical movement.
Fortunately, in this position, the boss isn't dealing that much damage either. There is scaling for whichever boss the randomized bosses replace. This is one of the earlier bosses, so not that high HP, not that high damage. Ooh. But enough damage to cause Gabriel a death. That's going to be really unfortunate.
And there's our verticality behind the Azure Queen spot.
Gabriel not going back into the boss fight. I wonder where he's headed from here. To check the upper area of Lake Serene. There are a couple of checks over here, and if he's having trouble with the boss fight, this is absolutely a good bet. There's 6-something checks. That looks like fire, which they might need once they get to the present again. There are a couple of checks.
That's really nice.
Mm-hmm. There's a couple of checks that are gated behind the ability to burn the vines, which the fire orb allows you to do.
That ledge was nothing today. It's a very convenient fire location for Gabriel.
Interested to see whether there's some progression here that Arrow didn't get.
It'll be interesting to see if that particular chest that Arrow had to skip, or Gabriel had to skip, is something.
As it is a C card for Gabriel that Arrow doesn't have, but we'll see how much of a difference that makes. The C card only gates 2 checks in the present, and we still don't have present access for either of our runners.
So Gabriel did get a level up, so that may help win this boss a little bit.
Mm-hmm. So Arrow's now running around using their light wall, their vertical, to get some of the checks that they missed or skipped, and this should also give them access to the Golden Idol fight, as well as to Ilana's towers. Which it looks like they're
getting
heading
access to
now.
Ilana's tower is quite valuable because it's where you can buy whip shards.
Mm-hmm. And that should drastically speed things up for all of those one-off checks that they've missed so far. Looks like Arrow's going for the Golden Idol fight first. Gabriel taking a second shot at the Nuvius fight. Not an easy fight, honestly.
Both of them will be converging here shortly, though, because there's only one real place for Gabriel to go at this point.
Mm-hmm. Gabriel does have the advantage of fire here, so that potentially opens up some checks that Arrow's going to have to backtrack. So while this is a time loss, it's maybe not as drastic as it might otherwise be.
And got his kill.
And immediately taking that light wall over back to the palace, skipping the few one-off checks that Arrow went through. So no bat ledge, no bombardiers.
And
not that they had anything particularly relevant.
Sometimes they can. So I'm expecting Gabriel to at least do that at some point. I just don't know when.
Yeah, skipping those is not time save unless there is nothing there, which we know there's nothing there, but also unless Gabriel never goes back for them, which that is a dangerous prospect.
And there's Gabriel doing Silence Ring deboost strats again as well.
Yarno makes a good point. The fact that Arrow has managed to find that that hat that Gabriel hasn't, the Empire Crown, means that they do have a damage advantage against some of these more irritating bosses. Gabriel going into the Volteralus fight, right behind Arrow. A lot of Emperors this seed.
I'd rather have them early when they're not super threatening.
That's true. Definitely nicer to see an Emperor in one of these spots than in the Ravenlord spot. Still not an easy time, even just at the golden idol spot, though.
Ooh. Flooded here, too.
My heart in my throat for poor Gabriel sitting there at 26 HP. Made it through, though. Oh, bombardment plus on AeroRaiser's side.
That's huge. Though I strongly suspect Gabriel's going to go follow that as well.
So it's not going to be an advantage for too long. Since they had Shattered Plus as their starting orb, we knew the bombardment was going to be plus whenever it showed up. And now that it's shown up, it is probably the most powerful spell they could have, short of maybe Agent Inferno plus.
And buying warp shards.
Gabriel having some problems getting up to Ilana's towers using just Light Wall. Not sure when the last time I needed to make that jump either is.
Single jump light wall is not fun for these large vertical rooms.
AeroRaiser showing exactly the problem here, running out of MP mid light wall jump. Having to stand there long enough to regen enough HP to make another light wall before the light wall fades out from underneath him.
At least there were a fair number of ethers early.
True. The consumables are there.
Very, very important for these types of seeds where you're stuck light walling forever.
Gabriel now buying some warp shards. I didn't actually get a chance to see what else was in the shop. Was there anything interesting?
Nothing exceptional. There was a galaxy ring, but the galaxy ring flag was not set.
Okay. Mother of Pearls. Okay, so a little bit of boosted damage if they want it.
They're fairly expensive for what you get, though.
Chaos Stole or an Azure Stole might have been a good find there, but sounds like nothing particularly interesting.
And on AeroRaiser's side, here is the main RNG source in the game. This boss fight.
Very short work of a high HP boots fight. Good work with that Shattered Orb. AeroRaiser showing some pretty good mastery of boss fighting in this game. It's definitely a bit of an art.
Yeah, not using the bombardment as much as I would hope. And Gabriel just got his bombardment, so...
Yeah, maybe we'll see an even quicker time
I've
from
seen
Gabriel.
a lot more spell use on Gabriel's side. So I fully expect him to be using the bombardment quite heavily on this upcoming boots fight.
AeroRaiser now taking the slow light wall climbs through the rest of Ilana's tower. There are quite a few checks here. It's fairly dense, but with light wall as your only option for vertical, it's definitely slow to get there and a bit of a hassle if you miss a light wall. Running out of MP here sucks. But as has been mentioned, there's a bunch of consumables around, so I'm not too worried.
And Struggle Juggle was just a Chaos Ruse.
Nothing particularly exciting. A Forbidden Tome, so we know that Jin Inferno is going to be neutral. And AeroRaiser. Where are you going now? There's not a lot of options, to be honest. There's still no Water Mask. There's infinite vertical. They can go up as much as they want. So they could be heading towards the blockade. Maw Cave. Yep.
Since it's not flooded, that's pretty much where Arrow is going to be forced into going.
And Arrow checking the built-in map tracker to see what is actually in logic based on what they have, and coming to the same conclusion. Maw Cave is the only place where there are more checks right now. They may decide to take that upper area of, yep, here they go. Taking the upper area of Lake Serene first.
Gabriel's also not using Bombardment Plus.
Sad. The shotgun is so fun. And Gabriel still doesn't quite have the damage that Arrow does, I don't think. I don't think they found a solid headpiece the same way that Arrow has.
No, I think the best found was a pointy hat.
That's pretty miserable. Arrow's had some pretty good luck with their drops so far, getting the Empire crown as a drop off one of the enemies. And that's definitely going to make a difference. I mean, we're seeing it make a difference. Arrow's damage output has been drastically higher.
Said there was an Eternal Crown. Batty, it's been fairly linear. There's not a lot of options for divergence. Gabriel did the checks here first. So we'll see what this chest is to see if Gabriel is going to pay for that. It is a Sanguine Ring, so no.
But Gabriel mostly following in Arrow's footsteps right now. Arrow going through some of the checks that Gabriel's already done. And we should see that.
I didn't see earlier that was it's going to be a Plasma Plus.
Ooh. That's exciting. But I'm expecting them to pretty much converge on Maw Cave. Arrow now going through fire, yep, getting all the fire checks. Or burning all the vines, rather.
Well, fire was locked behind the fire check, so... Has to go back around and unlock those few that he missed.
Gabriel may take this time to grab some of the one-offs that they missed. All of the vertical checks that they wouldn't otherwise have gotten. Checking the pink room, which I'm not sure if Arrow did.
Kova was Bombardiers, yeah.
Herbs. Mom's hiding the good stuff in her chests. So yeah, Gabriel has the opportunity to go and grab some of the one-off checks that they might have missed, as Arrow is doing right now. Places that they've gone through, but hadn't been able to pick up all the checks that require vertical. Gabriel going back for Canterin now that they've got some levels under their belt.
Gear 1, so going back after getting Light Wall was required.
Ooh. 1/5 of the way there.
What orb is that? It's not blood, it's not wind. That's the ice orb spot.
We now have AeroRaiser digging into the Caves of Banishment, where the Maw boss is located. So we're going to be seeing some new stuff there. And Gabriel looks like they're going to get those same one-off vertical checks that Arrow just got. So we should see the gear in Gabriel's hands sooner rather than later.
Just a few screens away now. Blue minus. And Arrow is not doing the save and quit strat here.
Well, there's a second gear, so they wouldn't be quitting out anyway.
Yeah. And Radiant Normal is not bad.
Gabriel now falling into the maw caves, maybe a minute and a half behind.
B trap.
Progression
Covering
relatively
the
even on
past
both of
lovers.
them. Sorry, say again?
B trap for the Link to the Past lovers.
Another relatively new addition to the game. Traps weren't available last year, so another new flag. Royal ring in the jackpot room for all those light walls that we still have yet to make.
Yeah. Light wall and or economizer. One or the other would be really nice to find. And we have a real ring.
Also Dusk Ring. But yeah, I think both of these runners have been pretty good about picking up some of the checks they missed. Gabriel has not gone back for Kobo yet, but otherwise they are even on progression as far as going through this process. Was that Time Worn? Was that Modern?
It was modern, but Aero skipped it, so I didn't get to see where it was.
And also
No,
Siren's Cave. And we do have the elevator card, so that is in fact past access, or present access rather.
That's happened a lot lately. That particular check. Or that particular warp point.
No gas masks, so Maw not currently in logic, but we've seen several runners so far decide to take maskless Maw anyway. Not sure whether AeroRaiser will. There is still one check up here before making the decision of fighting Maw or taking that modern warp. Looks like Arrow opting not to do maskless Maw, which a dangerous prospect, because then there's a bunch of stuff in the present that you would have difficulty accessing.
Yeah. And Gabriel got the royal ring from Jackpot Room in a dusk ring.
AeroRaiser now going into the present. I expect to see Gabriel not too far behind him.
Yeah, it's aside from taking out some one-offs, there's been not a lot of option for variety.
There's our water mask, courtesy of the librarian.
Oh, Arrow is not happy about seeing that either.
That's going to involve a lot of backtracking for one-offs if he decides to pursue it.
Also, no D card.
No D card, no tablet yet. Oh, there's Plasma Plus! Beautiful. One of my favorite orbs. It costs mana to use, but it is high damage, even base, and with the plus it's even higher. And it does some amount of seeking on its own. It's like a lightning effect. Very, very cool orb.
And with Royal Ring, unless you're extensively using it, you have practically unlimited uses of it.
So Gabriel checking out the Siren's Cave, which AeroRaiser decided to skip. AeroRaiser instead heading towards the Lake Desolation area of the present, the vanilla starting point of the game. So this is our first major divergence.
And it did not pay off.
Is this Sandman his boots? It's not gonna last. Yep. There's a lot of skips here, actually. So Gabriel didn't go all the way into the sewers, did they? No, they did. They checked the entirety of the sewers.
Gabriel's also doing the Varnagov Tower.
Which AeroRaiser
While
decided
Aero
to skip.
did not do.
Yep.
So there's a slight difference here. We'll see if this pays off.
So with the water mask, there's definitely places that, I guess Gabriel doesn't have the water mask yet. But plenty of places that our runners can go from here. They also have the B card, so if they find the gas mask and kill Maw, they'll have access to the lab. A lot of unimpressive finds so far.
They are running the same seed. We synchronize it right before. There's too much variability, so it's a matter of how people can do a specific seed.
Is that Shadow Seal for Gabriel?
I believe it was.
Also a very nice damage up if you're comfortable using it. Gives you a huge damage boost if you're fighting at low health, which, while dangerous, is also very effective. Gabriel C card getting into the Varnagov fight. Chat pointing out a lot of skip chests. Gabriel skipped a chest on his way up here. Arrow decided not to check Skelly. These are all places that they may have to come back for. So potentially a time save if nothing important there, but potentially a time loss if it's something they need to backtrack for.
So I didn't see if the Varnagov spot was worth anything.
I don't think it showed up in the progression tracker, so I don't think so.
Yeah, Arrow's doing the fire checks right now, so we'll see if those are any value. So far, no.
Couple of consumables. Yeah, so Arrow not taking advantage of the progression he found, the water mask, and both of our runners just looking for a place to go, looking for direction. I think they may be on the hunt for the gas mask specifically in order to be able to fight the Maw and potentially open up the way to the lab, but they need 3 more Timespinner pieces in order to open that final door in the pyramid and get to the final boss. And they need access to the pyramid either from the mysterious warp beacon or from access to the lab on the right side of the present. The 2 C card checks being pretty disappointing.
Varnagov, mysterious warp beacon, pyramid.
Arrow finally getting to the top of the the library. It was a mysterious warp beacon?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So we have our pyramid access. AeroRaiser, unsurprisingly, not dropping everything to go check out what's in the pyramid. but taking a Varndegroth as Ifrit fight here. Potentially a painful one. Varndegroth, a early game boss who doesn't do much damage or have much HP in his original location, but scaling up his attacks by putting him in a end boss location makes him very, very dangerous. His attacks are not easy to avoid and do a lot of damage. AeroRaiser doing a pretty good job showing off that Plasma Plus. And no real rewards.
Gabriel just following right behind.
See what he does with the mysterious warp beacon. AeroRaiser. Looks like AeroRaiser's now heading for the towers. So going through the checks that Gabriel's just finished doing. And Gabriel maybe heading for... Oh. This is the Siren Caves? This is the past, isn't it? This is the Caves of Banishment? No, Siren Caves.
Following up on the water mask check.
Right, water mask. Opting to do the Siren Caves underwater checks first, of all the possible underwater checks he could have gone to. Wow, and they pay off! So the gas mask puts the Maw in logic, as well as the few chests that the Maw is gating. But most importantly, that's going to make the Maw fight easier, and give Gabriel access to the right side of the map in the present, to the lab. In Celestial Sash? Alright. This is amazing.
Siren Cave underwater paying off big time here.
This is definitely not a check that most runners would make. I think this is a place that tends to be in a lot of runners' last locations, and it's working out really, really well for Gabriel. All of Gabriel's movement is going to be drastically sped up at this point, especially the Emperor's Towers, for example, or moving within the Ancient Pyramid. Any place where there's a lot of vertical, they're going to have a huge advantage over Arrow.
Yeah, this was a risky play, but it is absolutely paying off for Gabriel here.
And you can see the power of the Celestial Sash right now. That room would have taken 30 seconds with Light Wall, and Gabriel just shoots through it. Aha, our third Emperor. Oh, yeah. Break out that plasma. Look at this. Emperor Nuvius weak to plasma. One of the few things that Emperor Nuvius is weak to. Gabriel hitting him in the weak spot for massive damage. So with that, oh, go ahead.
I didn't catch if Gabriel put on the Shadow Seal, because that would have been even more damage.
They had the plasma beam equipped. Yeah, I didn't see that ring either. Gabriel opting to go for more of the underwater checks. There's a few underwater checks in the past, just like there were in the present, so it looks like they're gonna check the underwater hook here and finish that out with probably checking the underwater checks over on the left side of the caves.
I think Gabriel's just trying to seal off any possible anything left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Hero is getting through this this jump or this spider hell room way faster.
Mm-hmm.
The power of plasma.
Plasma does a number on those spiders.
They're neutral damage-wise, but Plasma Plus just does so much base damage as it is. But with that lack of a good helmet, you can tell the difference in damage from between Arrow and Gabriel's side. It's almost 20 damage a zap.
So Arrow now going into the Ancient Pyramid, where our final boss is going to be located once our runners can get there. As you can see, this place is a pain to navigate with the tools that Arrow has.
And a very badly
wall.
positioned.
Yeah, only light wall and single jump. This is not going to be quick going.
I don't think I would have done this without finding some sort of better verticality.
I think it was worth it to check the warp, and this is going to be slow going, so we'll see if it pays off for him. There might very well be some progression in the pyramid. All of this stuff is in logic. It's slow to do, but it's very doable. Gabriel found the D card. Nothing particularly impressive in there. Looked like a sun ring, an aura up, and our good friend Maximilian stand up. The flooded shaft to regret chest, so that's gonna make things either faster or slower, depending on how Arrow decides to work this. Looks like Arrow is going to check regret chest, which is... settle in, folks. It's going to be a bit. Gabriel now going out towards Lake Desolation, so areas that we know aren't going to have anything particularly impressive. AeroRaiser's been through this area already.
They didn't find fire yet. They have fire now. I think both of them have had the fire orb.
Yeah, both of them already had access to fire. Gabriel, in fact, going through those fire checks now. Gabriel going to check the crash site, so he has access to 2 more checks than Arrow did going through here, because Gabriel has killed the boss at Ma's location.
And not paying off.
As is tradition. Nothing in regret chest but regret.
Except for the first match yesterday.
My god, required regret chest. What a seed.
Well, I did roll it, so...
Radiant Plus? Radiant Plus in the crash
no,
site.
it was Win Plus. Radiant is normal.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Okay, then Arrow's got the gas mask now. So I assume he will finish these water checks and then probably do Maul.
Seems likely. Yeah, I kind of expected Gabriel to immediately head towards the lab as soon as they'd beaten Maw, since they would now have access to that in the present. But opting to go for the Lake Desolation checks, which, fair. This is pretty dense over here. There's a lot of stuff.
And Arrow is quite happy about getting that sash.
Yeah, Arrow finally finding that sash, too. A good call to make it into the Siren's Cave. Yeah, Batty makes a good point. Maybe Gabriel is routing this way because they still don't have the tablet. So there's some aversion to going towards the lab without the tablet because you miss out on so many checks in that area.
They're actually relatively close together. The only major difference is that Gabriel did not do Bombardiers to get Kobo. but it did not pay off.
Yeah, there's really been not that many things, all things considered. Almost everything that they found has been in obvious locations, not necessarily locations that would be easy to skip. So they're still pretty even on progression, even with some of the skipped chests on either side. And at this point, they have basically the same options open to both of them.
Gabriel did get some time saved from the earlier sash that he got compared to Aero.
Looks like Gabriel's now checking out the lab. So, given what we know of what we've seen so far, this puts Gabriel a little bit in the lead. That earlier sash making a difference. Ooh, heading into the gyre. So the gyre is interesting because it's not in logic unless you have the Timespinner wheel, which means that the Timespinner wheel can never be found in here. Right now, because they don't have the Timespinner wheel, there's the chance they run into the enemy that can only be hurt when time is stopped, which would cause a unavoidable 30-second delay. But if this pays off, this is probably a good gamble for him. The gyre is a pain to check and probably not most people's first choice here. Getting chapped by the Hellgazers. Those spiders are a hassle. Good use of light wall, though, in order to escape. And no big payoff, unfortunately. Just a couple of potions.
Aero just picked up the D card, which we know doesn't give anything of value.
But it is the kind of thing you go back and check.
Because it's right next to where you can buy more warp shards as well.
Great SAS positioning going up that that vertical shaft for the 2 checks up at the top by Gabriel. It's somewhat difficult to position correctly, so I like to call it out when people do things well.
Normal gens. Umbra is minus. Thought that was Empire at first.
Yeah, I suspect both of our runners are going to be sticking with this scattered plasma pair that they found. There's not really a lot to pull them in any other direction, I don't think.
Well, now we know Empire is going to be minus.
Is this a dip into Zarian Cave? It is! Alright, so we've got new stuff on both sides. Gabriel heading towards the lab and Aero heading towards Zarian. Zarian caves have paid off in some of the earlier seeds. Finding a tablet here, for example, could be a big find. And of course, both of our runners are still looking for 3 more pieces of the Timespinner, which could be literally anywhere. Hunt is on. Who's gonna find something interesting first?
Oh no. Gabriel's skipping 2 quick checks.
Oh, didn't break the wall? Well, definitely has the potential to come back and bite him. So we've talked some about differences between this year's flag set and last year's flag set. And I feel like this choice here, Arrow going towards Zarian, Gabriel going towards the lab, kind of highlights that. In last year's flag set, the lab was the, Spindle and Zarian caves. Okay, I want to finish my thought. In last year's flag set, the Timespinner lab was the only way to get to the final boss, the only way to get to the Ancient Pyramid. So no matter what you were doing, you needed to go through the lab regardless. In this flag set, because of the combination of Unchained Keys and Enter Sandman, you have access to the mysterious, to the Ancient Pyramid just by finding the appropriate warp beacon. So the lab might not be necessary, which kind of allows you to, oh my god, what a cave. All right, I'm abandoning that thought now. AeroRaiser has found 2 pieces of the Timespinner here. They found their 3rd gear, and they found the Timespinner spindle in Zarian Caves. So Zarian Caves absolutely paying off here. Now they just need the wheel, and if I'm remembering correctly, they haven't been... Have they been to the check right before the door in the pyramid? That might still have the wheel? Not sure. Looks like they're going to face Zarian, though. Gabriel finding his double jump. Not particularly necessary, but potentially useful. And a good point about the wheel logic being made. As we discussed earlier, the wheel cannot be found in the gyre. So AeroRaiser knows that his last piece of the Timespinner isn't going to be there. With Zarian's room being flooded, we get to see an underwater Alana fight. And a cosmetic reward. Gabriel still bullying forward through Emperor's Towers. Ah, and there's the wheel. So we know that Gabriel's last 2 pieces are in Zarian's cave. And we know that Arrow's last piece is in Dad's Towers.
Which means going through the entirety of a lab
Mm-hmm.
and military hangar.
Yeah, Arrow has... That's true. Arrow hasn't even broken through the military hangar. Has Arrow killed Maw yet? I think Arrow has killed Maw, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. But not taking the... Probably not too hefty amount of time, but not taking the time to go into the gyre because they know they don't need to, because all they're looking for is the wheel. And we basically know that nothing else is relevant. There's nothing else for Gabriel to find that could make much of a difference. Maybe a better hat. I still don't know if they've ever equipped a hat.
So basically, last year, you had to go to the lab because it was the only way to get to the Ancient Pyramid. With this flag set, you can get to the Ancient Pyramid, but just by getting a new special item that gives you access to it. So you can skip the lab. The lab may no longer be required. It's less likely just because of how many checks are in the lab.
The lab is still a fairly check-dense area, so worth checking on the whole. But no longer guaranteed, no longer always required. Gabriel fighting, is this Cantor and his Nuvius?
I believe so.
with the expected nothing particularly useful as a reward.
So he's going to do the other side, way up there.
Gabriel making all the checks that he's supposed to here. He's being thorough and hopefully not skipping anything that seems like it could be important, which is everything. But we know that he's not going to find anything useful. We know exactly where the pieces that he's missing are.
Aero is making the logical choice here.
Going to check that last chest right before the final boss door. Because, well, it's been required surprisingly often. Gabriel checking basement loop. Okay, so the flooded basement loop now getting checked by Gabriel, which, I mean, that's a reasonable play to make. We know it's not going to work out for him, but absolutely a reasonable play to make here.
Yeah, this is 7 checks, I believe, compared to 6 in Zarian Caves.
He might opt to go for some of the other one-off flooded checks that they weren't able to make at the beginning. There's the flooded courtyard in Ilana's towers. There's quite a few areas that Gabriel could go back and check. Quite a few ways for Gabriel to get sidetracked here.
Gabriel just found Merchant Crow, so that's a possible rabbit hole to fall down.
AeroRaiser going through the lab now, so we know that they're headed in the right direction. And assuming AeroRaiser then goes towards Emperor Towers after this, this is their race to win at this point. Gabriel would have to go to Zarian Caves right now in order to keep pace.
Well, he's going to get the Kobo at Bombardiers.
Yet another potential distraction.
So that's where the actual Eternal Crown was, or Empire Crown. In the chest that Gabriel skipped, the memory.
Gabriel somehow missing every hat in the game. He's sitting on a pointy buckle and a librarian hat, wondering where the damage is. Yep, Gabriel going towards Ravenlord. Finding that Empire Orb minus.
Where was Double Jump?
Double Jump was in the lab.
Okay. So Aero will pick it up here in a moment then.
Meanwhile, Gabriel fighting Ravenlord at Ravenlord. Nobody expected to see this. Well, they still have a lot of places they can go. And only one of them is a good choice. Well, there's a lot of reasonable choices to make, but we know where the solution is. And Ifrit's not it, buddy. AeroRaiser homing in on Dad's towers, yep. Making what we know to be the correct choice in the situation.
And it's one of the early checks too, which is usually checked even if you don't go up the tower. Most people will check these 3 checks.
And that should be an immediate warp to the pyramid.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
So So it's go mode on AeroRaiser side. Gabriel had a pretty hefty advantage with the earlier Teleria, that risky sash play that paid
Getting
off.
the Siren's Cave and the Sash early on.
But then is lost in the weeds here. Okay, he's choosing the right place.
Yeah, this race has been back and forth, honestly. I think Aero was ahead for a lot of it, and then the lead flipped when Gabriel faded some places that Aero had already gone and kind of saved 30 seconds to a minute, and then found that Sash in what is honestly like a brilliant routing decision going to the Siren's Cave then. And Gabriel must feel like he's behind.
Mm-hmm.
And Ifrit in the Nightmare spot. A fairly easy fight. There's a way around all of Ifrit's attacks, which is duck underneath him. For all that he has big arms, can't necessarily find everything, and that's that. So we have a winner, AeroRaiser on the left side, with a official race time of 1:05:21. Gabriel in the right place to finish this off. What's up, Arrow?
GG's. I felt so behind because I took a few gambles that just did not pay off.
Mm-hmm. It was honestly back and forth. You were ahead for a bit, you were behind for a bit, but at the end of the day, you made the right decisions quicker than Gabriel did.
I feel like the turning point might have been Zarian Caves.
Zarian Caves having 2 Timespinner pieces was absolutely the game breaker for you.
Yeah, I was like, okay, now I just need to hunt down Wheel. I'm like, let me go into Pyramid first, make sure it's not on the last chest. That's the one thing I left behind there. Because with all the water flooded, I'm like, I'm just noped out after Regret Trust.
That's honestly, with how the qualifier seeds went, I think most of the runners in this tournament are going to make that same decision.
Oh yeah, not like the final chest had our go mode or anything.
No, of course
on
not.
That scene. Given you were kind of locked out of everything else, so you know.
All of us just recovering from the trauma of the qualifiers. Gabriel
Instead,
finding his last Timespinner piece though, so he'll be hot on your heels.
So I will say it trolled giving us the warp beacon.
Sure did. Yeah, you made the unfortunate play of going into the pyramid with just light wall, which is a huge
pain. Well, my original play is like, we're going with light wall, like, I'm probably just gonna regret Tresting out, and that's all the water. I'm like, I'm definitely just doing regret Tresting out. Shoutouts to Double Jump in Lab. I was like, really?
Yep.
Gabriel had the Sash quite a bit earlier.
Yeah, thankfully Sash didn't add too much. And I was thinking that when I got Sash, I'm like, I could have had this like 20 minutes ago. But I was like, there's no way I'm going to the caves without Water Mask. Even Water Mask was like one of the first things I got, I just never went back. When I got into the present, because I decided, like, you know what, I'm gonna rush Lake here because I kind of want to just go ahead and get the Maw check out of the way. And then other things just opened up, so I was like doing those, found Gas Mask, I'm like, alright, let's go back and do it now. Amounted to absolutely nothing other than the fact that it was just needed to get access to the lab.
Right.
Which I was like, alright. I took a gamble with Wheels, like, Wheels probably up here in Towers, right? I have very little checks in the rest of the world. Like, I have like a couple of one-off checks in past water checks. I think is all I have.
Not a lot left at that point, so making the play for Bats Towers definitely makes sense.
Yeah, I was like, I only need one piece. There's a good chance it's here. I'm glad it was early in it. Also, shout out to the game giving me my 2 favorite orbs as a plus. Both Shattered and Plasma are my preferred orbs. So
yeah, the damage was ridiculous this season.
It's like, we got really good damage. As soon as I got Plasma, I'm like, well, I got damage for days. And I'm like, Shadow Steel, cool. Now Shattered has damage for days.
You got good equipment early, too, and Gabriel never found a good hat, somehow.
If he didn't go for many kills for the little critters, they dropped Empire Crowns, which was monumental for early damage.
So the seed was pretty
finished...
linear in the beginning, right? Like there was kind of not a lot of choices to make in the beginning, and then once you made it to the present, you picked up the water mask relatively early, and things kind of opened up from there. Yeah,
because as soon as I got to the present, I was like, I could just check all this. I know I have elevator card, but I'm just gonna rush straight to the fire checks.
And congratulations to Gabriel as well for an excellent 109.34 finish.
Yeah, only 4 minutes behind. Wow. This is still pretty close.
Hopefully Gabriel can jump into the chat here.
We will see. It took me a minute before I got the SG invite. But the invites are for the most part working.
Yeah, it depends on when we hit the button in the control panel. And there's about a 51 second stream delay.
That sounds about right.
I have hit the button, so Gabriel should be getting that invite. But I don't know whether or not he will have time to join us or be interested. So I guess let's talk about some other things. What made you pick Zarian when you did? That was obviously the correct play. Obviously.
I was looking at what I had left. I was like, I could go left or I could go right. And I'm like, I've seen Zarian be way too important these last few seasons. I'm like, we're just gonna do it. It ain't gonna take long on the equipment. Like I had Sash. I was like, it's pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely understand playing the meta with the way these seeds have been going.
Also, yeah, how many concussions did I get? 4.
Fairly late Sash, didn't use it too much.
True, I didn't have Sash until pretty late. But like I had Light Wall, so I was like, I was moving just fine. Talaria early was very nice. I was very happy to see that.
And even with the early Talaria, we're still sitting here at 105, 109. This was an all-over-the-place seed.
Yeah, well, I think outside of the rest of the towers and the 2 water checks that I left behind, I full cleared. So, yeah.
Not only full cleared, but there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of, like, you needed to travel all the way to the left side in order to get your vertical.
Yep.
You needed to travel to the present in order to get your water access. There was a lot
Even
of
early
backtracking.
on, as soon as I got access to my first warp spot, I immediately warped and then warped back in case I found a warp shard, so I could just warp right back. Because walking back sucks early on.
Sure does. Well, congratulations on your win. Let me bring up the bracket real quick. I want to see what this is going to be looking like.
Right, because my second opponent should already be known. Because the top seeds got a bye, so... Yeah,
you're moving on to face me in the next round.
Oh, it's me and you! Oh, that should be interesting.
That should be fun. This should be a good match. This is a double elimination tournament, so Gabriel's not out. Gabriel is... the loser's bracket isn't fully populated, so we're not sure who their next match is going to be. This is only, what, the fourth match of the tournament?
They'll be facing the loser of Mike and Batty.
Oh, okay. And that match is coming up tomorrow, I think?
Yeah, I think so.
Match is coming fast and furious.
Yeah, that's a good thing, though. That is a good thing.
So yeah, look forward to more matches. There's going to be more matches on the various Speedgaming channels. If it's not this main Speedgaming channel, it's going to be Speedgaming 2, 3, 4, 5, etc.
We've got one on this channel in 35 minutes. So, you know, that works out pretty well.
Hang out and watch more Timespinner.
Exactly.
Crandall versus Zed.
Exactly. I was also worried going in here because I have not practiced as much as I should have. I think I've only played 1 seed since the qual seed. I only updated my rando yesterday. So
I understand.
I haven't been practicing as much.
Hard to find the time, honestly.
Yeah, I've been pretty busy lately, but doing pretty well here. Most of it's just me getting used to not having Talaria all the time.
It's a big change. And the routing is different, and it's a lot to get used
Routing's very different. Yeah, because I was sitting there doing Lightwall for a couple checks that wait, I could just do this because I have Talaria now.
to. Mm-hmm.
Shout outs to Castle Right of Bombardiers. I did it with Lightwall. Like, wait a minute, I could just dash to this.
Sometimes you can just go. So
there
I
a link
think
to the Discord?
yeah, I think that's it from me. Anything else we wanna? Anything
No,
else you want to
that's
say? Any shoutouts?
I gotta hop out and run. I'm actually in the middle of a multi-world that I've been doing with friends. So I'll be back in an hour and something for more. So I gotta go join them back out with them.
Great.
Hopefully,
Lily, any final
I'm on a
comments?
BK mode.
Nope.
No, GG's. We'll see y'all here in 30-ish minutes.
Yep. Absolutely follow the runners if you're not already. There's links to them in the channel. Thanks for coming, and keep hanging out for some more great Timespinner action. Thanks for being here.
Have a good night.